Welcome to this week's podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in each and every week. I want to remind you to send in your questions to wabequestions@gmail.com so we can receive your questions and dialogue. Also, share this podcast, however you're viewing, with those that you know. We got a really good question. I'm excited. I want to jump straight in. Here's the question. Should a Christian support Donald Trump? Should a Christian support Donald Trump? That's coming up next. Here we go, Wade. Should a Christian support Donald Trump? And I believe the question also included, how should we act towards Democrats, towards Donald Trump's expressive language? So what are your thoughts on Donald Trump and Christianity? What are your thoughts?
Boy, what a interesting question. And I'm sure several of you clicked on it because you just wanted to see what would be said. We live in a very charged political atmosphere, both in our culture and in the church. So I think the question gets to the heart of, can a Christian who follows Jesus be supportive of a man or woman like Donald Trump, who seems to be in your face, who seems to call people out, who seems at times to denigrate people? Are these
a little immature?
Yeah, a little immature. Are these
kind of scared saying that on there? I'm thinking, is somebody going to come after me?
are these characteristics of a Christian, and can a Christian support Donald Trump as he runs for president? Is that pretty much the heart? What do you think? Well, I'm interested in what you say, Abe.
So before you give me an answer, I would say the president of the United States should not be seen as the pastor of the United States. I personally make a separation, but I also want you to know we have to make the best choice that we can. If you look in the Old Testament, God used, what was the king of Persia? What was his name? Cyrus. When he allowed the Jews to go back and rebuild the temple. God did that through King Cyrus in the Old Covenant.
In fact, it says of Cyrus, he is the Lord's anointed. And in Hebrew, it's the word Messiah. And Cyrus was a pagan king. He was an Astro-Aryan. He worshipped the stars. And the scripture calls him the Lord's Messiah. So you make a very good point, Abe, that God can use people that aren't even maybe part of his family for his purposes.
And I'm not saying that Trump is not a Christian, and I'm not saying that he is a Christian. I think that's ultimately God's business. But I do enjoy Trump's his attitude towards Christianity. He said he wants prayer back in school, that he believes in what the Bible teaches, not that he always follows it. So for me, should a Christian support Trump? I would say yes. But he's not the pastor of the United States. As a Christian, I think you vote for what best represents your beliefs. And I've heard of Democrats that are going to try and really tear down the institutional church. And even Bernie Sanders, I heard him clearly say on video that he's going to do everything he can to allow women to choose and have more abortions. And obviously, we can start going into homosexuality, marriage. And again, those are just things I feel like my faith and what the Bible teaches.
Can I ask you a question?
Is not for that. So I try to make the best decision of what's available.
Well, let me ask you a question. I thought I heard you say, should a Christian support Trump? And I would say yes.
Okay.
No, is that what you said? I'm asking you.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a language guy. I'm a word guy, right? So when I hear the word should, it says to me obligation. Are you saying that a Christian is obligated to support Trump? What I mean is, if they're a Christian, should they support Donald Trump? I don't think that's what you mean. Do you, or do you?
Should they? Well, as a Christian, I believe I mean, I'm just sharing my thoughts. I can't find necessarily a Bible verse that says, yeah, support Trump.
Well, let me stop you.
Yeah.
Are you saying can or should? In other words, can means you can, but you don't have to. Should means you should, and if you don't, you're sinning.
Well, I don't want to say you're sinning necessarily, but I think we need to look at what's available, and both sides, Democrats or Republicans, not to really get caught into the name, the donkey or the elephant, but what do they believe? If you're a Christian, now if you're not a Christian, I understand, you just vote for what you want. What do they say about Christianity? Are they allowing religious freedom? Do they support what the Bible says about marriage and things like that? So for me, it seems up to this point at least, Trump is clearly on the right side of Christianity in regards to what the Bible teaches. And I think, yes, a Christian should
Wow. You go a lot farther than I do.
support Trump. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you do. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, you go a lot farther than I do. And people who know me, privately, my friends, my family, they understand my politics. People who don't know me very well probably don't understand my politics because, as you know, we don't talk about politics from the pulpit.
Yeah, of course.
My friend, Mr. Jeffress at First Baptist Dallas, he does all the time.
Wow.
We don't even have flags in our auditorium.
Because God is the God of the world, not just the United States.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
His
I like
kingdom
that.
transcends nationalism.
Yeah.
So when people hear that, sometimes, they get all bent out of shape. Where's the flag to the United States of America in the auditorium? And if they knew me privately, they'd be like, whoa, this guy is conservative politically. But I would never say a Christian should support Donald Trump, ever.
Okay.
I would say a Christian can, but never should.
So what do you mean by support? I guess that's the deal.
Vote for him.
Okay. You would say if they feel led, should vote for Democrat?
Absolutely.
Okay. So my problem with that is I have seen these late-term abortions that many Democrats are supporting, where a baby that is actually born, they drill in the back of this baby's head to kill it. They are not in support of the institutional Christian church. They want prayer out of schools. They believe in marriage is not necessarily between a man and a woman. It's free choice. So I just feel like voting for a Democrat, and I have to be careful because I don't know everything with the Democrat and the Republic, but I feel like people need to understand how serious that can be with these late-term abortions.
No, I'm with you, Abe. I'm with you.
Well, and some people might say, well, I don't believe late-term abortion is murder. And maybe that's another debate, but they might say, hey, I don't believe the baby, that is an actual life when it's actually born at 9 months.
We're getting, in my opinion, off track here.
No, but that's why I would support Trump.
Yeah, but okay.
Because if I feel like this is
homosexual
murder.
marriage?
Yeah, because I feel like marriage is between a man and a woman.
Okay, then let me go a little bit deeper.
Does that make sense? So because that informs me on what decision I should make.
It makes sense, but I hear you saying Republican, Democrat, so on, vote for the Republicans because their platform is this. Now, let me just say to you, okay?
And I'm not saying every time, but I mean today with the options that we have and what I've heard.
I'm just telling you, there's a mistake that Republicans make, and there's a mistake that Democrats make.
I agree. Republicans are not perfect in their...
Right, but let me tell you what the mistakes are.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it may give you some insight into the way I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay? The mistake that Republicans make is that they often think the political party should represent Christian positions.
Okay.
Okay. I don't believe that's how America was built.
Okay.
The founding fathers were Christians, but they created liberty based upon what's called natural law.
Yeah.
What that means is, natural law is, I am not going to infringe on your rights. I am not going to take from you what is yours. I am going to give you freedom. Now, I believe in natural law for governments. Which means, Abe, and this may shock a lot of people,
Okay.
I have zero problem with the government giving tax credits to men who marry men in homosexual marriage or women who marry women. Because I believe that in America, you should be free and government should not encroach upon your
We
rights.
need to separate government and Christianity.
Boom, I'm a good Baptist, if you will. Okay, so the Republicans make the mistake of attempting to say our government should demand a Christian world view.
Now that is a good point, but I will say this: the marriage deal. I understand what you're saying. I'm actually developing a relationship with the guy who's transgender. I don't support the views, but I'm just listening and we're dialoguing.
So yeah, and you believe he should have health insurance. You believe people, the fire department should come and protect him.
Yes.
Okay, but you understand that in a Christian theocracy,
They
in
wouldn't
the
say
past,
that he shouldn't have health
they take him out and
insurance.
stone him.
Okay, but that's not what we're dealing with today. So if that was the case, but I'll tell you this: if the homosexual marriage, I understand what you're saying, but what about the late-term abortions? I think, and that's what people, to me, I need to think about. Do I consider that baby a life? I'm talking about late-term abortions. I've seen the pictures. They drill a hole in the back of this baby's head. Even putting babies, you've heard this, in boxes and just close the lid and the baby dies. So if a Democratic candidate supports that view, if that just view alone, and I believe these babies are lives, then it forces me to try and have a law, just like we tried to fight against slavery, change the laws, that could give African Americans a fair chance, also give these babies a free chance. I mean, my two daughters are adopted, and I'm thankful that when they were born, that they just weren't terminated. So, and I'm not saying if someone has an abortion, they can't be forgiven, just like I'm forgiven. My sin is no better. I'm a wretched sinner in need of God's grace, but that is something that, as I have learned about, it's really broke my heart, and I don't want to make that easier for people to go and have these.
I don't disagree with you, Abe. I don't disagree with you, but what I'm saying is governments throughout history have had their issues, like abortion. The Romans enslaved women.
Yeah.
The Romans took little boys and kept them as sex toys.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you believe abortion is murder today, which you do, and I do as well, okay, then what is preventing you from going out and taking the life of the abortion doctor who's murdering human beings? See, my point is this. We're living in a nation that is not Christian. Okay, and you take it upon yourself to make it Christian, you're violating the natural law upon which we were established.
And I need to make that clear. You're right. I don't believe that Christianity, as in the Crusades, when they were killing and forcing people to be Christians, I don't believe that's the message of Christianity. Again, I'm developing a relationship with someone who wants nothing to do with God, but I love this person. I just want to get to know him. I want to dialogue. So I need to be careful saying, should a person support Trump? What I mean is, if you're voting and you're looking at the best options, which we can see flaws in all options, and if you feel that late-term abortions, like this is an actual life, that they're letting babies be taken out and placed in a box, or just letting die. I feel like this should allow us to make the best decision with what we have. I don't agree and support everything
I
Trump
understand.
does. He sometimes he seems extremely immature. And again, I don't see him as the pastor. I see it as, okay, A and B, what are my options?
Yeah.
And I just say, well, I know there's going to be consequences with this option. I know there's going to be
understand.
consequences with this option. Which option should you take? I like that the Democrats seem to be more concerned with the poor.
Yeah, but let me stop
I
you.
like that making.
We're out of time.
Yeah.
But let me do this. I know what you're about to say about the Democrats. You like them. I didn't get a chance to speak about the Democratic mistake.
Yeah,
And
we-
can I
we still
close
got
with
time.
this?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you'll close out. If you're a Democrat, you're listening to this, I know you're thinking, oh, those guys are nuts. They're idiots. I get that. But I want you to listen to me because I think this is the mistake that you're making. I know you say you're concerned for the poor. I know you say you're concerned for illegal aliens. I know you say you're concerned to make sure that the homeless are sheltered and that the hungry are fed. I get that. I believe you. I know you're concerned with that. Here's the problem. Are you ready for this? This is your problem. That is not the responsibility of government. You know whose responsibility it is? It's the churches. And I ask your forgiveness. Churches have not been doing what we should be doing. Now, Emmanuel Enid is trying to pick up the slack in building homeless shelters, refuge centers for abused and abandoned women, community development centers. We're funding it ourselves with no tax dollars. So I ask your forgiveness if you're a Democrat, but listen to me. I promise you it is a huge mistake when you want government to do what the church should be doing. We want government to protect rights and liberties and freedoms. That's all. And Abe, I think you and I can agree on that. We also, I agree with you on the issue of abortion, but how you stop it is through legal means, not through the imposition of our views on to people illegally.
Yeah. So my mother, and I'll close with this story. My mother, I remember growing up, she told me, I was young, she voted for President Bush. And there were people in our family, because most of my family, I guess at that time, was Democrat, and they were pretty frustrated with my mother for voting for President Bush, Republican. But my mother, even from a young age, she taught me to try and vote as best as I could Christian values. Now, you make a good point, Wade. We don't want Christianity to be smothered in people's face. You have to receive this. You don't get health care. I don't believe that, because I think Christianity and government can be separate.
I think they should.
Yeah. I just, the deal with the abortion is just, I just don't want to make it more available. And I think about
I agree with that.
Laws that have even given me the freedom to sit here in Oklahoma, be a pastor at a Southern Baptist church, and marry a white woman and do some of the things I'm doing because how people voted.
Right.
So I think that is probably the foundational issue for me. If I consider that life, I would like to educate people. I would like to promote adoption and foster care, especially if people are educated and they see these precious babies as lives.
Amen.
But again, I need to say this way. Anybody who has committed an abortion, that's had an abortion, your sin is no different than our sin. The Bible says we've all sinned and fallen short. So this is not pointing the finger. This is let us all help each other. Because again, both of my daughters are adopted, and I can't tell you how much I love them.
And the way we're helping is when kids need foster care.
Yeah.
Our church is emptying the foster shelters
we have
in our
200
county.
people signed up.
We're providing for needs. So
Yeah.
the church is stepping up.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your heart, Abe.
Yeah. So thank y'all for tuning in. And I'm sorry if this podcast is stirring up some emotions. We just did this question right off the cuff and had no time to prepare. Maybe watching the video, I might say, ooh, I should have said this better. Or maybe you're looking at my face and saying, oh, Abraham, you need to be more gracious. And so I do believe that God's grace is for all people, and we need to find ways to point people to the good news of Christ. So thank you so much for tuning in. Look forward to dialoguing with you next week.